Grizzly Adam here. Today we're making fire starters out of junk. Alright, well the first thing we need is some candles. We're going to use the wax to make the basis of our fire starters. A lot of these candles got stickers stuck to the bottom. If you can get them off, go ahead and remove them. And any of these that are in glass containers, just remove the tops, and we're going to set them right on top of the wood stove over a nice slow fire. And after a little bit you'll find that they've turned into a liquid and we can just pour them on out. This was about 20 minutes later. A lot of times we just use the candles with the most offensive odors that we don't feel like burning around the house. And we only really have to suffer through them the one time when we mix up these starters, because they don't really smell like much by the time we get done. Butter knife helps to scrape out the last little bits that are stuck to the edges. There we go. Just put that down on the hearth with the other one. And you'll find that different candles of different sizes obviously are going to melt at different rates. So we'll get out what we can here. Sometimes they'll break if you give them a little bit of persuasion, but this one doesn't seem like it's going to come on out quite yet, so we'll just put it back and let it continue to melt. Got a little bit of wax here on the king, so I'm just going to grab some newspaper out of the bin and get that wiped clean before we have any smoke issues here in the house. Alright, we've let this candle sit for about another 5 to 10 minutes, and looks like it's ready to pretty much come on out now. Yep, there's all of it out. And we'll give it just a little bit longer to go ahead and liquefy. There we go, we got it in a nice liquid form, and we'll start adding some ingredients. This is sawdust that I've saved, and so I'll just use my ladle and scoop it on in. The amount of sawdust that you're going to use is going to depend on how much candle wax you got. I ended up with about 10 scoops for this recipe. Now we also save coffee grounds, and we use them around the garden and in the compost pile, and we use them in our fire starters. And we add an equal amount of coffee grounds as sawdust, so it'll be about 10 scoops of the coffee grounds by the time we get done here as well. Give that a little bit of a mix and let it start getting combined before we add our next ingredient, dryer lint. The old lady's been saving this up for quite a while. And so what you want to do is just rip it up in the smallest pieces you can and cram it on in and just give it a good mix, make sure everything's combined. I got my gloves on, so I do a lot of the mixing by hand. But you have to keep in mind that the wax is very hot, so you don't want to just go plunging into there. So, use your brain and be a little bit careful. What you want to do is give the mixture a good squeeze, and if it holds together kind of like a snowball, then you know you got it about right. Alright, we got some big old egg cartons here. Each one of these is going to make 30 fire starters, and so we just want to grab some of our mixture and just pack it in there best we can. Once again, you'll probably find that the best tools is just your own hands. Just try to get it packed in there as best you can. The tighter it is, the less likely it's going to crumble on you when you try to separate the individual fire starters. Then just do kind of a last check to make sure that even the ones on the edges are completely full. And I found that a soup spoon works really well for just getting these packed in there that last little bit. Just put your thumb right in the bowl of the spoon and give it a good push down, and it seems to do a pretty good job. You do have to work with this fairly quickly because the drier the mix is, the faster it's going to start setting up on you. I ended up making 3 flats of 30 fire starters each, so total of 90 fire starters, which should get us through the rest of the season without much of a problem. Especially since we got some super seeders on the way that I'm going to be testing and doing a review of for Firewood Hoarders TV. I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to compare to these homemade ones. And there's a look at the finished product. Once they cool, just go ahead and rip off one of the fire starters. Toss it in with your kindling, and I like to start mine with a torch. And it doesn't take too long before it starts heating up and catching other things on fire. Just add a little bit more here on top and try to keep it over top the flame, and before you know it, it'll be heating up pretty quick. Here we are about 10 minutes later. I've thrown a little bit more wood on top and we're starting to get a pretty good burn. We're up to about 300 degrees according to the chimney thermometer. Well, I'm going to warm up by this fire. We'll see you next time on Firewood Hoarders TV.